Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. I'm talking about the most irrelevant game of the NFL season, Perna. Today, I'll take a look at the fucking Broncos and the fucking Cardinals matchup. And that is for everyone who says my profanity is unnecessary and overused. You're right. But today, I want to discuss what you should be watching if you are indeed watching this fruitless battle, and some of the players who may or may not make the final roster. Both the Cardinals and Broncos looked very good last week. The main difference being the Broncos performed well against Washington starters, and Arizona dominated the not Dallas Cowboys starters with 8 turnovers and 5 sacks last week. Good job, AZ. That's Good Sports. This episode is sponsored by BetDSI.com, one of the most trusted sportsbooks out there. Right now, if you use my promo code GS100, BetDSI will match your first deposit up to $1,000. They will give you free money to play with on a 10x rollover. Again, you can only get that with my promo code GS100 and by clicking the BetDSI link in the description. Use that link. I bet $50 you didn't even know you could bet on the final preseason game. Looks like you owe me $50. Oh, I love sports betting now. The Cardinals are actually 3-point favorites in this game, which really, and I'm not trying to crap on him anymore, is probably because of Paxton Lynch. For Arizona, Josh Rosen might not even play. He was held out Sunday against Dallas with a hand injury and is a game-time decision. So if he doesn't play, it will be Chad Kelly and Paxton Lynch squaring off against Mike Glennon, and who the fuck is that guy? Also known as Chad Kanoff. We've got a Chad versus Chad showdown. So again, I'm betting my BetDSI money on the Broncos to win, or at least cover the 3-point spread. If they don't, it will be because Paxton Lynch, real estate promoter, will have the ball in his hand for the entire second half. Kelly better get a 3-touchdown lead before handing the offense off to Paxton. Now, I do hope Josh Rosen plays for the sake of my entertainment. Partially, though, too, because I feel bad that he read my mean tweet for the Arizona Cardinals website.
At Brandon Perna. Josh Rosen looks exactly like a less handsome Aaron Rodgers right now during his draft. Thank you.
That was actually a compliment, because you did look frustrated because nobody was drafting you, just like Aaron Rodgers, and I think you're the most NFL-ready quarterback in this draft, and that you'll be good. It was a compliment, and let's face it, nobody is as handsome as Aaron Rodgers is at the quarterback position.
Thank you.
And not that that doesn't even matter if you're a quarterback, Josh. You could have the face of Clegane from Game of Thrones. And if you're an NFL quarterback, you're still gonna get laid a lot. So it's irrelevant. I am sorry, but I'm not sorry. The NFL this year really does have interesting quarterback storylines. There are a ton of potentially great rookies with good QBs starting ahead of them. You've got Tyrod and Baker in Cleveland, Rosen and Bradford in Arizona, Keenum and Kelly in Denver, Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, McCown, Bridgewater, and Darnold in New York, even Nick Foles and Carson Wentz while we wait for Wentz to get healthy. I cannot remember another year where you could look at that many teams and say either of those quarterbacks could lead that team to success this season. The other crazy thing is Chad Kelly has a higher overall QB rating, 107.8, and completion percentage, 68.3, than all of those first-round rookies, including the not as handsome as Rodgers, Josh Rosen, who by comparison has a 54.35 completion percentage and a 78.3 QB rating. Now, he's only played in 2 games so far, which is why those numbers aren't as accurate as they could be, and that is why I want to watch him on Thursday night. Arizona will be trying to figure out their QB depth at defensive end. Whoa, no they won't. Arizona will be trying to figure out their depth at the defensive end spot. Short-time Denver Bronco Vontarius Dora may make the Cardinals' defensive line as a rotational end. I thought Dora looked pretty good while he was in Denver, so I'll be rooting for him as well on Thursday, assuming he doesn't hit future Hall of Famer Chad Kelly too hard. You hear that, Dora? You hear that? If you try and explore Chad Kelly's body on the ground, you and I are gonna have serious words, my Spanish-speaking friend who teaches kids all over the world. Like Denver, Arizona will be evaluating the final few wide receiver spots very closely. The Broncos' locks at the position group are DT, Emmanuel Sanders, rookies Courtland Sutton, and Daesean Hamilton. After that, many believe Tim Patrick will lock down the 5th spot, really leaving 1 spot to fill at wide receiver. Isaiah McKenzie could be that guy. He has improved as a punt returner, but with the signing of Adam Jones, longtime reliable and proven returner, McKenzie, I think, is back on the bubble. I believe he has to show value in the passing game for the Broncos to justify keeping him, unless they go 7 deep at wideout. And anyone who doesn't like something wide that can go 7 deep is a liar. The other receivers fighting are River Craft, Jordan Leslie, DeAndrew White, Bryce Bobo, Mark Chapman, and John Diarse. Personally, I'm rooting for Bryce Bobo for nickname purposes, and John Diarse as the sleeper in that group who I think can develop into the best NFL receiver. Arizona's top 3 receivers will be Larry Fitzgerald, obviously, Christian Kirk probably, and Chad Williams. Behind that is uncertainty. JJ Nelson is heading into his 4th season, is explosive at times, but faces competition from Greg Little working on his NFL comeback. Remember, Little in his rookie season for the Browns had 61 receptions for 709 yards and a couple TDs with freaking Colt McCoy throwing him the ball. Undrafted rookie Trent Sherfield is also pushing for a roster spot, but it's likely some combination of those 3 guys will all be on the team next week, and then there's a bunch of Arizona receivers who I don't have a fucking clue who they are. One of those guys might make it too. A key position battle for Denver continues to be the tight end spot. Jeff Heuerman and Jake Butt are locks, and draft pick Troy Fumagalli may get the Jake Butt slap with the placement on IR, letting him get healthy for next season. Fumagalli could be placed on IR, then make his debut this season after week 8 if the Broncos aren't happy with the 3rd tight end that they do go with. That fight is between Austin Traylor, Matt LaCosse, and Brian Parker. LaCosse has made the most plays this preseason. Both LaCosse and Traylor entered the NFL last year. Traylor, if you remember, had 8 catches for 100 yards in 2017 as a Bronco, but still scored less TDs than former defensive lineman Keith Traylor. I'm fine with either tight end making the team, but I believe the guy who performs the best as a blocking tight end will get the job, which Brian Parker, according to Pro Football Focus, has actually been the best in that department. But since I'm not going to actually evaluate blocking because I'm not a fucking loser, give me the guy who catches all the passes. I did lose some subscribers for telling the truth about Adam Jones. I'm not sure how not wanting to root for a guy who has assaulted several people, both men and women, makes me a snowflake, but that's the risk I take, for speaking from my heart, I guess. That said, I hope he looks good on the field Thursday. He hasn't played all preseason, so he can definitely use the reps. I think the Broncos will keep 6 corners, which makes a perfect hexagon. That one's for you, Mr. Wacker, my 10th grade geometry teacher. Brendan Langley and Isaac Yiadom will more than likely be the 2 who earn those final 2 corner spots. Neither of them, though, have made a single impressive play this preseason. CJ Smith could usurp Langley if he destroys the Arizona passing game. I will be watching the secondary very closely because of that and because of Adam Jones, even if he only plays a little bit. As long as the wide receiver Jones is covering doesn't ask him how many kids he has, he should be just fine.
I'm gonna have 3 beautiful kids, so.
I mentioned that edge rusher Jeff Holland has the coaching staff's attention, and he could be the guy they keep to eventually replace Shane Ray or Shaq Barrett, depending on who they sign. But Marcus Rush on the bubble has a name destined to be a pass rusher. Here comes the rush from Marcus Rush. Boy, did he rush that well, Marcus Rush. If I were a head coach, I'd start him ahead of Von Miller. Chubb and Rush, far better outside linebacker names than Miller and Ray. Ugh. I think safety Dymonte Thomas earned a roster spot last week as the 5th safety on the team. Su'a Cravens, despite not playing at all, is a 95% lock to make the roster. Those are confirmed percentage numbers, by the way, which probably puts Shamarko Thomas on the outside looking in. Ironic, as blurred vision in one of his eyes is what kept him from playing last week. finally, we have running backs. How many will the Broncos keep? All of them, except maybe Dave Williams? Phillip Lindsay was a long shot to make the team before the first preseason game. After watching him play for like 5 minutes, he became cemented on the roster. Some people are losing their shit because Booker is listed as #1 on the depth chart. Don't sweat it, it's meaningless, and I guarantee Freeman is gonna get more carries week 1. And with the emergence of Royce, Lindsay, and my favorite, De'Angelo Henderson, I feel very good about the running back group, especially with blowing up holes for those backs to penetrate. That Manovich gif was posted by Redditor UbiDude1, and that is now my favorite gif of 2018. And I plan on using it a lot. Now, except for the money I bet on this game, the outcome is irrelevant, and it is mostly just a tease. A nice little tease until the season actually starts next week. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Subscribe here. Did I tell you to subscribe to this channel? Because you gotta do it. There's football videos on the screen right now. Click on those if you want. And we do a podcast, That's Good Sports Podcast. Will Keys and I, every Thursday on my second channel, That's Good Broncos. It's also on iTunes, Podbean, That's Good Sports Podcast.